Hello, my beautiful learners, and welcome back to Best English Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah. Today, we're going to do something dangerous. We're going to talk about the biggest, most tempting lie in language learning, the lie that's sold millions of books, courses, and apps, the lie that keeps promising what it can never deliver. This is episode 53, and today we're exposing the truth about learning English effortlessly. Look at these promises. Learn English while you sleep. Become fluent without studying. Acquire English naturally, like a child. Have you ever wondered why, if these methods really worked, there are still millions of people struggling to learn English? Have you ever spent money on a course that promised effortless learning, only to find yourself working harder than ever? I want to tell you a story. When I was first learning Spanish, I fell for every one of these promises. I bought the subliminal audio tapes, I tried the learn while you sleep methods, I purchased the program that promised I would absorb Spanish like a sponge. And you know what happened? After 6 months and hundreds of dollars, I could still only say hola and gracias. Then I did something radical. I stopped looking for the effortless way and started looking for the effective way. And that's when everything changed. That's when real learning began. That's when I went from struggling to truly communicating. Today, I'm going to share with you what I wish someone had told me 15 years ago. The real secret to language learning isn't about avoiding effort. It's about making the effort enjoyable, sustainable, and effective. It's about working with your brain instead of against it. It's about understanding the difference between struggle and effort. If you're tired of empty promises and ready for real progress, you're in exactly the right place. Welcome to The Real Way to Learn English Effortlessly. If this sounds like the honest approach you've been searching for, hit subscribe and let's begin this real journey together. Your support helps me create more truth-telling content. Let me start with a story. A few weeks ago, I received an email from a listener named Marco. Marco wrote to me from Italy. He said, "Sarah, I have been learning English for 8 years. 8 years! I have completed 3 different online courses. I have apps on my phone. I watch movies with subtitles. But when I visited London last month, I couldn't understand what people were saying to me. I couldn't order food properly. I couldn't ask for directions. I have studied for 8 years, and I feel like I know nothing. What am I doing wrong?" When I read Marco's email, my heart broke. Because Marco is not alone. There are thousands of Marcos out there. Maybe you are one of them. You have been studying English for years. You have invested time, money, and energy. You have followed the advice. You have done the exercises. But when you face real English in the real world, you feel lost. You feel confused. You feel like all that study was for nothing. Today, I want to tell you why this happens. And more importantly, I want to tell you how to fix it. Today, we are going to look at English learning from a completely new angle. We are going to throw away the old methods that don't work. We are going to stop following the bad advice that's everywhere. And we are going to start doing what actually works. This episode is different from anything I've ever made. This is not a quick tip. This is not a simple trick. This is a complete rethinking of how we approach English learning. This is about understanding the science of how your brain actually learns languages. This is about creating a system that works with your brain, not against it. For the next few hours, I'm going to guide you through everything you need to know. We're going to cover the psychology of learning. We're going to cover the neuroscience of memory. We're going to cover practical strategies you can use today. And we're going to build a complete system that you can follow for the rest of your English journey. Now, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Sarah, and I've been teaching English for over 15 years. I've worked with thousands of students from all over the world. I've seen what works and what doesn't. And everything I'm going to share with you today comes from that experience. It comes from science. It comes from real results. And if you're a regular listener, thank you. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for your commitment to improving your English. Today's episode is special because of you, because I know you're serious about learning. I know you're ready for real change. So let's begin. Let's start with the most important question of all. Why are you still struggling after all this time? The first thing we need to do is clear away the myths, the wrong ideas that are preventing you from making progress. These myths are everywhere. They're in advertisements, they're in popular language learning apps, they're even in some classrooms, and they're keeping you stuck. Let me share with you the 5 biggest myths about learning English and why each one is completely wrong. Myth number 1, the practice makes perfect myth. You've heard this 1,000 times. Practice makes perfect. Just practice more and you'll get better. But here's the truth. Not all practice is created equal. Bad practice doesn't make you better. It just makes you really good at doing things wrong. Think about it this way. If you're practicing basketball and every time you shoot, you use the wrong technique, what happens? You don't get better at basketball. You get really good at shooting incorrectly. The same is true for English. If you're practicing listening with bad materials or with bad techniques, you're not improving your English. You're just getting really good at misunderstanding. The real principle should be perfect practice makes perfect, or even better, strategic practice makes progress. It's not about how much you practice, it's about how you practice. We'll talk about strategic practice in detail later. This is a very popular idea. Just learn English like a child learns their first language. Sounds good, right? But it's completely wrong for adult learners. Here's why. Children and adults learn languages differently. Children have developing brains that are specifically wired for language acquisition. They have years of immersion with caregivers who simplify language for them. They're not trying to learn complex abstract concepts. They're learning language along with their entire understanding of the world. As an adult, you have different advantages. You can understand grammar explanations. You can use your first language as a reference. You can be strategic about what you learn. Trying to learn like a child means throwing away all your adult advantages. It's like trying to run a marathon by crawling because that's how babies move. The truth is, adults should learn like adults. Use your intelligence. Use your existing knowledge. Use strategies. We'll talk about adult-appropriate strategies throughout this episode. Myth number 3, the immersion is enough myth. Just immerse yourself in English, watch movies, listen to music, surround yourself with the language. This advice is everywhere, and it's partially true. Immersion is important, but passive immersion is not enough. If immersion alone were enough, then every immigrant would become fluent quickly. But that's not what happens. Many people live in English-speaking countries for years and still struggle with the language. Why? Because they're surrounded by English, but they're not actively engaging with it. There's a big difference between being surrounded by a language and actively learning it. Think of it like being in a gym. Just being in the gym doesn't make you fit. You have to actually exercise. Just being surrounded by English doesn't make you fluent. You have to actively work with the language. The key is active immersion. We'll talk about how to turn passive exposure into active learning. Myth number 4, the grammar is the enemy myth. Some methods say, don't study grammar, just learn naturally. This is terrible advice for adult learners. Grammar is not your enemy. Grammar is your friend. Grammar is the map that helps you navigate the language. Think about trying to build furniture without instructions. You might eventually figure it out, but it will take much longer, and the result might be wobbly. Grammar is the instruction manual for English. It shows you how the pieces fit together. The problem isn't grammar study. The problem is bad grammar study. Memorizing rules without context is useless. But learning grammar through examples, through patterns, through real usage, that's powerful. We'll talk about how to study grammar effectively. Myth number 5, the "you need a perfect accent" myth. Many learners obsess over their accent. They want to sound exactly like a native speaker. And while clear pronunciation is important, a perfect native accent is not necessary for communication. What matters more than accent is clarity. What matters is being understood. What matters is communication. Many of the most successful English speakers in the world have accents. They have learned to speak clearly and effectively without losing their identity. Your accent is part of who you are. It tells your story. Instead of trying to erase it completely, focus on being clear. Focus on pronunciation patterns that affect understanding. We'll talk about pronunciation later, but remember, communication is the goal, not perfection. These 5 myths have probably influenced your English learning. Maybe you've believed some of them. Maybe you followed advice based on these myths. And maybe that's why you're frustrated. Today, we're going to replace these myths with truth, with science, with strategies that actually work. And we're going to start with the most important concept of all: how your brain actually learns. To learn English effectively, you need to understand how learning works. You need to understand what's happening in your brain when you learn. This isn't just interesting science. This is practical knowledge that will change how you study. Let's start with a fundamental truth. Learning is physical. When you learn something new, you're physically changing your brain. You're creating new connections between brain cells. You're building neural pathways. Think of your brain as a forest. When you first try to learn something, it's like trying to walk through thick bushes. There's no path. It's difficult. But every time you practice, you're clearing that path. You're making it easier to walk through. With enough practice, you create a clear, easy path. That's when something becomes automatic. That's when you don't have to think about it anymore. This process happens through something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to change and adapt. And you can use this knowledge to learn English more effectively. There are 3 key principles of brain-based learning that we need to understand. In the 1880s, a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something important about memory. He found that we forget information quickly if we don't review it. He created what's called the forgetting curve. Here's what happens. When you learn something new, a new word, for example, you remember it perfectly right after learning it. But then you start forgetting. After one day, you might remember only 30%. After a week, you might remember only 10%. This is why you feel like you're constantly forgetting vocabulary. It's not because you have a bad memory. It's because of the forgetting curve. Everyone experiences this. But there's good news. You can beat the forgetting curve. How? Through spaced repetition. This means reviewing information at increasing intervals. You review after one day, then after 3 days, then after a week, then after a month. Each review strengthens the memory. Each review makes the neural pathway stronger. Later, I'll show you exactly how to use spaced repetition for English learning. Your brain has limited working memory. Working memory is like your brain's desk space. It's where you hold information temporarily while you're working with it. When you're listening to English, you're using working memory to process the sounds, understand the words, parse the grammar, and comprehend the meaning. If there's too much information, your working memory gets overloaded. This is called cognitive overload. When you're cognitively overloaded, learning stops. You can't process new information. This is why listening to material that's too difficult is counterproductive. You're not learning. You're just overwhelming your brain. The key is to manage cognitive load. We do this by breaking information into chunks, by connecting new information to what we already know, by eliminating unnecessary distractions. We'll talk about practical strategies for this. Principle 3. The power of sleep. Sleep is not just rest. Sleep is when your brain processes and consolidates memories. When you learn something new during the day, your brain needs sleep to move that information from short-term to long-term memory. Studies show that people who sleep after learning remember significantly more than people who stay awake. Sleep is when your brain practices what it learned. It's like overnight rehearsal. This has huge implications for English learning. It means that study sessions before bed can be especially effective. It means that getting enough sleep is essential for learning. It means that all-night study sessions are actually counterproductive. Now, let's apply these brain principles to English listening specifically. How does your brain process spoken English? When you hear English, your brain goes through several steps almost simultaneously. First, it processes the sounds. It distinguishes between different phonemes, the basic sound units of English. This happens in the auditory cortex. Then, it matches these sounds to words. It accesses your mental dictionary. This happens in Wernicke's area, the language comprehension center of the brain. Next, it processes grammar and syntax. It understands how the words relate to each other. This involves several brain regions working together. Finally, it comprehends meaning. It connects the language to concepts, to emotions, to experiences. This involves the entire brain. For a native speaker, all this happens automatically. The pathways are well established. But for an English learner, each step requires conscious effort. Each step uses working memory. Your goal as a learner is to make these processes more automatic, to build strong neural pathways so you don't have to think about each step. And you do this through the right kind of practice. Now that we understand how the brain learns, let's talk about the 3 core principles of effective English learning. These principles are based on everything we know about neuroscience, psychology, and language acquisition. Adaptation means fitting English learning into your real life. Not the ideal life you wish you had, not the life of someone in a YouTube video, your actual life, with all its complexities. Most learners fail because they try to follow someone else's perfect system. They try to study for 2 hours every morning when they're not morning people. They try to use methods that don't match their learning style. They set goals that are incompatible with their actual schedule. Adaptation requires honesty. You need to be honest about your available time, your energy patterns, your learning preferences, your real-life obligations, your actual goals. For example, if you have young children and a full-time job, trying to study for 3 hours a day is unrealistic. It's setting yourself up for failure. Instead, adapt. Find 10-minute pockets throughout the day. Use your commute. Use your lunch break. Use the time while you're cooking dinner. Adaptation also means choosing content that interests you. If you hate business English, don't force yourself to listen to financial news. If you love cooking, listen to cooking shows. If you're interested in psychology, listen to psychology podcasts. When you're interested in the content, learning happens naturally. Engagement is the difference between hearing and listening, between passive exposure and active learning. Think about the last time you watched an English movie with subtitles in your native language. Were you really listening to the English? Probably not. You were reading the subtitles. Your brain was processing your native language, not English. Now think about watching the same movie with English subtitles. Or better yet, without subtitles. Now you have to listen. You have to pay attention. You have to engage. Active engagement means paying full attention, having a specific goal for each listening session, asking questions while listening, making predictions, taking notes, summarizing what you heard. Engagement is mentally demanding. That's why you can't do it for 8 hours straight. But 20 minutes of engaged listening is more valuable than 8 hours of passive exposure. Connection is how you make English stick, how you move vocabulary from short-term to long-term memory, how you make grammar patterns automatic. The human brain remembers things that are connected to other knowledge, connected to emotions, connected to personal experiences. Isolated facts are quickly forgotten. When you learn a new word, don't just memorize the definition, connect it. Create a mental image. Connect it to a personal memory. Use it in a sentence about your life. The more connections you create, the stronger the memory. The same applies to grammar. Don't just memorize rules. Connect the rules to examples, to patterns you notice, to your own writing and speaking. These three principles, adapt, engage, connect, form the foundation of everything we'll talk about today. Everything else builds on these principles. Every strategy, every technique, every recommendation comes back to these three ideas. Now, let's make these principles practical. Let's talk about what you should actually do every day. A system is better than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but a system keeps working even when you don't feel motivated. Today, I'm going to give you a complete system for daily English practice. A system based on the three principles we just discussed. This system has 4 components: morning warm-up, focused practice sessions, integration moments, integration review. Let's look at each component in detail. Component 1, the morning warm-up. The purpose of the morning warm-up is to activate your English brain, to remind yourself that you can understand English, to start your day with a small success. The warm-up should be short, 5 to 10 minutes maximum. It should be easy, material you understand 90 to 100%. It should be enjoyable, something that puts you in a good mood. Here are some warm-up ideas. Listen to a short, positive podcast episode. Watch a 3-minute inspirational video in English. Listen to an English song you love and try to catch the lyrics. Read a short article on a topic you enjoy. The key is no pressure, no studying, just exposure. Just reminding your brain that English is part of your life. Many learners skip this step because it seems too easy. They think, I should be challenging myself. But the warm-up serves an important psychological purpose. It builds consistency. It creates a habit. And it starts your day with English success, which sets a positive tone for the rest of your practice. Component 2, focused practice sessions. This is where the real learning happens. Focused practice sessions are when you work on improving your skills, when you tackle challenging material, when you push your boundaries. I recommend 1 or 2 focused sessions per day, each 20 to 30 minutes long. Why 20 to 30 minutes? Because that's about the maximum time most people can maintain deep focus. After 30 minutes, attention starts to decline. Each focus session should have a clear goal, not just listen to English, but specific goals like, today I will listen to this podcast and identify the 3 main points. Today I will watch this video and write down 5 new useful phrases. Today I will practice shadowing with this audio clip for 20 minutes. The material for focused sessions should be at your learning level. Material you understand 70 to 80%. Challenging, but manageable. We'll talk more about choosing materials later. During focus sessions, eliminate distractions. Put your phone away. Close other browser tabs. Give the material your full attention. This is engaged learning. Integration moments are short practices scattered throughout your day. They take 1 to 5 minutes. Their purpose is to connect English to your daily life. Integration moments might include while making coffee, describing what you're doing in English. While commuting, thinking about your day in English. While waiting in line, mentally describing your surroundings. While walking, listening to English and trying to notice specific sounds. These moments are powerful because they create numerous small connections between English and your daily experiences. They make English less of a subject you study and more of a tool you use. The key to integration moments is spontaneity. Don't schedule them rigidly. Just look for natural moments throughout your day where you can add a little English. The evening review is perhaps the most important component. This is where you consolidate what you learned during the day. This is where you fight the forgetting curve. The review should take 10 to 15 minutes. It should happen, ideally, an hour or two before bed to take advantage of sleep consolidation. Here's what to do during your evening review. Look at your notes from the day's focused sessions. Choose 3 to 5 words or phrases you want to remember. For each one, create a strong mental connection. Say each one out loud several times. Visualize yourself using them in real situations. That last step is crucial. Visualization activates the same brain regions as actually doing something. When you visualize yourself successfully using English, you're strengthening those neural pathways. Now, let's put this all together into a sample day. Let's follow a fictional learner named Anna through her day. 7 a.m. Anna wakes up. While making breakfast, she listens to a 5-minute English podcast about mindfulness. She's not studying, just listening. Warm-up complete. 8:30 a.m. During her commute to work, Anna does an integration moment. She looks out the window and mentally describes what she sees in English. The sky is gray today. Many people are walking quickly. The traffic is heavy. Just 2 minutes of spontaneous English. 1 p.m. During her lunch break, Anna does a focused session. She watches a 15-minute TED Talk about a topic she's interested in. She takes notes on the main ideas. She identifies 3 useful phrases. Focused practice complete. 3:30 p.m. Another integration moment. While making tea at work, Anna thinks about her afternoon tasks in English. I need to finish the report. Then I have a meeting at 4. After that, I'll respond to emails. 7 p.m. After dinner, Anna does her evening review. She looks at her notes from the TED Talk. She chooses 4 phrases she wants to remember. She creates personal connections with each one. She visualizes using them. Review complete. Total time spent? About 35 minutes of focused time, plus scattered moments throughout the day. But the impact is massive because every component serves a specific purpose. This system works because it's based on how your brain learns. The warm-up activates neural pathways. Focused sessions build new pathways. Integration moments create connections. The evening review strengthens memories. But a system is only as good as the materials you use with it. So let's talk about how to choose the right listening materials. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is choosing materials that are either too easy or too difficult. Both are problematic. If material is too easy, you're not learning. You're just confirming what you already know. Your brain isn't challenged. No new pathways are being built. If material is too difficult, you're overwhelmed. Your working memory is overloaded. You can't process the information. Again, no learning happens. The key is finding material at your learning zone. Material that's challenging but manageable. Material where you understand enough to follow along, but not so much that you're bored. I like to think of listening materials in 3 categories, which I call the listening triangle. These are materials you understand 90 to 100%. You can follow along easily. You might miss a word here or there, but you understand the overall meaning without effort. Examples of comfort materials: podcasts you've listened to before, TV shows you've watched multiple times, content on topics you know very well. Children's programs, if your level is appropriate. Comfort materials serve important purposes. They build confidence. They reinforce what you already know. They provide stress-free exposure. They help you notice details you might have missed before. I recommend that 30% of your listening time be comfort materials. Not because they're the best for learning new things, but because they're essential for maintaining motivation and building fluency. Category 2, growth materials. These are materials you understand 70 to 90%. You can follow the main ideas, but you need to concentrate. You encounter new vocabulary. You might miss some details. You need to use context clues. Examples of growth materials: podcasts on familiar topics but with new information, news programs at slightly slower speeds, YouTube tutorials on topics you're learning, interviews with clear speakers. Growth materials are where most of your learning happens. This is the learning zone. This is where you're challenged just enough to grow, but not so much that you're frustrated. I recommend that 60% of your listening time be growth materials. This should be the core of your practice. These are materials you understand less than 70%. They're difficult. You might feel lost. You might only catch occasional words or phrases. Native speakers talking quickly, complex documentaries, technical presentations. Examples of stretch materials: movies without subtitles, fast-paced native conversations, academic lectures, regional accents you're not familiar with. Stretch materials serve a specific purpose. They train your ear to process English in its natural, unfiltered state. They help you get comfortable with ambiguity. They expose you to vocabulary and structures you wouldn't encounter otherwise. But here's the important point. You shouldn't try to understand everything in stretch materials. That's not the goal. The goal is exposure. The goal is getting your ears accustomed to the speed and rhythm of natural English. I recommend that only 10% of your listening time be stretch materials. Any more than that leads to frustration and burnout. Now, how do you know which category a piece of material falls into? Use the 1-minute test. Here's how it works. Listen to 1 minute of the material. Try to understand as much as you can. Ask yourself, what percentage did I understand? Based on that percentage, categorize the material. If you understood 90 to 100%, it's comfort material. If you understood 70 to 90%, it's growth material. If you understood less than 70%, it's stretch material. This simple test saves you from wasting time on materials that aren't right for your level. Now let's talk about specific types of materials and how to use them effectively. Podcasts. Podcasts are excellent for English learning because they're usually free, they cover every imaginable topic, they come in various lengths, many have transcripts available. My recommendation: find 3 to 5 podcasts you enjoy. Make sure they're at different levels. Have one comfort podcast, 2 or 3 growth podcasts, and maybe one stretch podcast. Listen regularly. Use the transcripts for difficult sections. YouTube videos. YouTube is a treasure trove of English content, but it can be overwhelming. The key is to be selective. My recommendation: create a Learning English YouTube account separate from your personal account. Subscribe only to channels that provide good learning content or content in your areas of interest. Use playlists to organize videos by topic and difficulty. Movies and TV shows. Movies and TV shows are great, but they're often used inefficiently. Watching an entire movie in English might feel productive, but if you're just reading subtitles in your native language, you're not really practicing listening. My recommendation: use the 3-pass method for movies and shows. First, watch with English subtitles. Focus on understanding. Second, watch without subtitles. Focus on listening. Third, watch scene by scene. Pause, repeat, shadow the dialogue. This method turns passive watching into active learning. Audiobooks. Audiobooks are excellent for building listening stamina. They're usually spoken clearly. They tell complete stories. They expose you to rich vocabulary. My recommendation: start with young adult novels or books you've already read in your native language. Use the audiobook along with the physical book or ebook. Listen and read simultaneously at first. Then try listening alone. Choosing the right materials is half the battle. The other half is using them effectively. And that brings us to one of the most powerful techniques for English listening: the recycling method. Most English learners make this mistake. They constantly consume new material. They listen to one podcast episode, then another, then another. They watch one video, then another, then another. They're always moving forward, never looking back. This is inefficient. Why? Because of the forgetting curve we discussed earlier. When you listen to something once, you forget most of it quickly. You might pick up a few words or phrases, but most of the material is wasted. The recycling method is different. Instead of constantly consuming new material, you work deeply with a small amount of high-quality material. You recycle the same content multiple times, each time with a different focus. Here's how it works. Choose a short piece of audio. 3 to 5 minutes is ideal. Then listen to it 4 times over several days, each time with a different goal. First, listen for experience. The first time you listen, don't try to understand everything. Don't take notes. Don't worry about vocabulary. Just listen. Try to get the gist. What's the topic? What's the main idea? What's the speaker's attitude? This first listen is about building a relationship with the material. It's about getting comfortable with the speaker's voice, pace, and style. Second listen, for understanding. Now listen again, this time with the goal of understanding more details. You might want to use a transcript for this listen. Follow along. Pause when you need to. Look up words if necessary. Ask yourself questions. What are the key points? What examples does the speaker give? What's the structure of the talk? What's the conclusion? This listen is about comprehension. It's about making sure you understand what's being said. Third listen, for language. Now listen a third time, focusing on the language itself. What interesting phrases do you hear? What grammatical structures? What pronunciation patterns? Take notes on useful phrases you want to remember, new vocabulary, grammar patterns, pronunciation features, linking, reduction, intonation. This listen is about language mining. You're extracting the valuable language from the content. Fourth listen, for integration. The final listen is for integration. This time, listen and speak along. Shadow the speaker. Try to match their pronunciation, their rhythm, their intonation. Pause and repeat difficult sections. This lesson is about making the language your own, about moving from passive recognition to active production. Now, you might be thinking, listening to the same thing 4 times sounds boring. But it's not boring when you have different goals each time, and the benefits are enormous. When you use the recycling method, you learn vocabulary in context, not isolation. You notice grammar patterns naturally. You improve pronunciation through imitation. You build confidence with material you truly understand. You create strong memories through repetition. Compare this to the typical approach, listening to 10 different things once each. How much do you remember from each one? Probably very little. How many words have you truly learned? Probably few. With the recycling method, you might work with only 1 or 2 pieces of content per week, but you'll learn more from those 2 pieces than from 20 pieces listened to once. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you choose a 4-minute TED Talk clip. Here's what your week might look like. Monday, first listen. Just experience it. Get the gist. Tuesday, second listen. Understand the details. Use the transcript if needed. Wednesday, break. Your brain consolidates. Thursday, third listen. Focus on language. Take notes on useful phrases. Friday, fourth listen. Shadow the speaker. Practice pronunciation. Weekend, review your notes. Create flashcards for new vocabulary. That's 1 piece of content, deeply learned. Contrast that with listening to 7 different podcasts in 7 days. Which approach do you think leads to better long-term learning? The recycling method works because it aligns with how your brain learns. It uses spaced repetition, listening on different days. It manages cognitive load, focusing on different aspects each time. It creates multiple connections: experiential, comprehension, linguistic, productive. But even with the best methods, you'll encounter problems. So, let's talk about solving the most common listening challenges. Every English learner faces listening challenges. The key is not to avoid them, but to solve them strategically. Let's look at the 5 most common listening problems and how to overcome them. Problem 1. They speak too fast. This is the #1 complaint I hear. Native speakers seem to talk incredibly fast. Words blend together, sounds disappear. It feels impossible to keep up. Solution: understand connected speech. Native speakers don't pronounce every word separately. They use connected speech patterns. Linking: connecting the end of one word to the beginning of the next. This is becomes this is. Reduction: making unstressed words shorter. To becomes t. Elision: dropping sounds entirely. Probably becomes probably. Instead of trying to hear every word separately, train your ear to recognize these patterns. Use the chunking technique. Listen for groups of words that go together naturally. Instead of trying to catch individual words, catch phrases. How are you doing? Becomes one chunk, not 4 separate words. Practice with slowed down audio first. Use technology. Most media players allow you to slow down playback. Start at 0.75x speed. Get comfortable. Then gradually increase to 0.85x, then 0.9x, then normal speed. Your brain will adapt. Problem 2. I don't know the vocabulary. You're listening and suddenly you hit an unknown word, then another, then another. Soon you're lost. Solution: practice listening for gist. You don't need to understand every word. In fact, in real conversations, you rarely understand every word. You understand enough to get the meaning. Practice this skill deliberately. Listen to audio and focus only on the main idea. Don't worry about details. Ask yourself, what is this basically about? Then listen again for more details. Then again for specific information. Also, learn to use context clues. When you hear an unknown word, don't panic. Keep listening. Often, the meaning becomes clear from what comes before and after. Problem 3. My mind wanders. You start listening, but soon you're thinking about what to make for dinner, or that email you need to send, or that conversation you had yesterday. Your attention drifts. Solution. Use active listening strategies. Passive listening leads to mind wandering. Active listening keeps you engaged. Use these strategies. Predict. Before listening, predict what you might hear. Question. While listening, ask yourself questions. Summarize. After listening, summarize what you heard. Visualize. Create mental images of what's being described. Also, accept that attention naturally fluctuates. The average attention span for focused listening is 10 to 20 minutes. Don't try to listen for hours without breaks. Break your listening into chunks. Listen for 15 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. Problem 4. I can't distinguish similar sounds. Some English sounds are difficult to distinguish. Ship versus sheep. Bat versus bet. Light versus right. Solution. Minimal pair practice. Minimal pairs are words that differ by only one sound. Practicing with minimal pairs trains your ear to notice small differences. You can find minimal pair exercises online or in pronunciation books. Practice listening and identifying. Did they say ship or sheep? Practice saying them yourself. Record yourself and compare to native speakers. Also, pay attention to mouth position. Often, similar sounds are made with different mouth positions. Watching speakers can help you learn to distinguish sounds. Problem 5. I understand but can't remember. You listen to something and understand it in the moment, but 5 minutes later, you can't remember what you heard. Solution. Use the summarize technique. After listening to anything, a conversation, a podcast, a video, immediately summarize it. Say it out loud or write it down. Use this format. Main idea, 1 sentence. Key points, 3 to 5 bullet points. Interesting detail, 1 thing that stood out. This simple practice strengthens memory. It forces your brain to process the information more deeply. It moves understanding from short-term to long-term memory. These 5 problems cover most listening challenges, but there's one more important topic: accents. How do you handle different English accents? English has many accents: British, American, Australian, Indian, Nigerian, and countless others. This can be confusing for learners. Here's my advice. Don't try to understand every accent perfectly. That's unrealistic. Instead, focus on 1 or 2 accents initially, probably American and/or British, since they're most common in learning materials. Once you're comfortable with those, gradually expose yourself to other accents. Watch movies from different English-speaking countries. Listen to international news channels. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is familiarity. The goal is being able to understand the essence despite the accent. Remember, even native speakers sometimes struggle with unfamiliar accents. This is normal. Don't be discouraged. Now that we've covered methods and problem solving, let's talk about measurement. How do you know if you're improving? One of the most frustrating aspects of language learning is that progress is often invisible. You study every day, but you don't feel like you're getting better. This leads many learners to give up. The problem is that you're looking for the wrong signs of progress. You're looking for dramatic transformations. You're waiting for the day when you suddenly understand everything. That day rarely comes in a dramatic way. Progress happens gradually, almost imperceptibly. The key is to measure small wins, to notice micro improvements, to track progress in ways that are meaningful but not overwhelming. Here are 5 ways to measure your listening progress. Measurement 1. The comprehension percentage. Choose a standard piece of audio, maybe a specific news podcast or YouTube channel. Listen to a new episode each month. After listening, estimate what percentage you understood. Write it down. Track it over time. Don't expect huge jumps each month. Expect slow, steady improvement. 60% one month, 65% the next, 70% the next. These small increases add up to major progress over time. Measurement 2. The note-taking test. Listen to a 5-minute audio clip. Take notes while listening. Then, using only your notes, write or speak a summary. How complete is your summary? How accurate? Do this test monthly with similar difficulty materials. Compare your summaries. Are they getting more detailed? More accurate? Are you catching more key points? Measurement 3. The speed tolerance. Find an audio clip you understand well at normal speed. Now, try listening at 1.25 times speed. Can you still follow? What about 1.5 times? As your listening improves, you'll be able to process faster speech. This is a concrete, measurable skill. Test it periodically. Measurement 4. The transcription challenge. Listen to a 30-second clip of natural speech. Try to transcribe it exactly. Then compare to a transcript. How accurate were you? This is difficult, but it shows your ability to catch individual words and sounds. Do this monthly and watch your accuracy improve. Measurement 5. The real-world success journal. Keep a journal of real-world listening successes. Every time you successfully understand something in the wild, a conversation, an announcement, a movie scene without subtitles, write it down. These real-world successes are the ultimate measure of progress. They show that your practice is translating to real life. Now, let's talk about something equally important. What to do when you hit a plateau. Every learner hits plateaus, periods where progress seems to stop, where you study but don't improve. This is normal. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means your brain is consolidating. When you hit a plateau, don't panic. Don't increase your study time dramatically. Don't switch methods completely. Instead, try these strategies. Plateau Strategy 1. Depth over breadth. Instead of consuming more material, go deeper with the material you have. Use the recycling method more intensively. Analyze one piece of content from every angle. Plateau Strategy 2. Change the channel. If you've been mostly listening to podcasts, try audiobooks. If you've been watching movies, try documentaries. Changing the type of input can spark new learning. Plateau Strategy 3. Focus on output. Sometimes listening plateaus are broken by focusing on speaking. The skills are connected. Practicing speaking can improve your listening comprehension. Plateau Strategy 4. Take a break. Sometimes the best thing you can do is take a short break. A few days off can allow your brain to consolidate what you've learned. You often come back stronger. Plateau Strategy 5. Review fundamentals. Go back to basics. Review pronunciation rules. Review common grammar patterns. Sometimes plateaus happen because of gaps in foundational knowledge. Plateaus are temporary. Everyone experiences them. The key is to keep going, to trust the process, to remember that learning is not linear. Now, let's bring everything together into a complete, actionable plan. I want to give you a complete 90-day plan. Not a become fluent in 90 days promise. That's unrealistic. But a transform your listening skills in 90 days plan. A plan based on everything we've discussed. This plan has 3 30-day phases. Each phase builds on the previous one. Phase 1. Foundation. Days 1 to 30. The goal of Phase 1 is to establish consistency and build confidence. Week 1 to 2. Habit formation. Daily warm-up. 5 minutes of comfort material. Daily focused session. 15 minutes of growth material. Daily integration. 3 short moments. Evening review. 5 minutes. Focus on consistency, not perfection. Miss a day? No problem. Just continue the next day. Week 3 to 4. Skill building. Increase focused sessions to 20 minutes. Start using the recycling method with 1 piece of content per week. Begin tracking comprehension percentages. Add weekend review sessions. By the end of Phase 1, you should have established a daily habit. You should feel more comfortable with English listening. You should have a system in place. Phase 2. Expansion. Days 31 to 60. The goal of Phase 2 is to expand your skills and tackle more challenging material. Week 5 to 6. Challenge. Increase. Introduce stretch material, 10% of listening time. Increase focused sessions to 25 minutes. Practice with different accents. Begin transcription practice, 30 seconds per day. Week 7 to 8. Skill integration. Combine listening with other skills. Listen and summarize in writing. Listen and discuss with a partner or yourself. Practice predicting content before listening. By the end of Phase 2, you should notice improved comprehension. You should be more comfortable with natural speech. You should have strategies for dealing with difficult content. Phase 3. Mastery. Days 61 to 90. The goal of Phase 3 is to refine your skills and achieve automaticity. Week 9 to 10. Refinement. Focus on weak areas identified in previous phases. Practice with the most challenging materials. Work on speed processing, listening at increased speeds. Deepen shadowing practice. Week 11 to 12. Integration and application. Increase real-world listening practice. Listen to complete audiobooks or lecture series. Practice in noisy environments. Test yourself with unfamiliar content. By the end of Phase 3, you should be a significantly better listener. You should be able to handle a wide variety of listening situations. You should have confidence in your abilities. This 90-day plan is comprehensive but flexible. Adapt it to your needs. If you need more time in a phase, take it. The timeline is less important than the consistency. Now I want to address some special situations. Everyone's English learning journey is unique. You might have specific challenges or situations that require special approaches. Let's address some common ones. Situation 1. The busy professional. You work 50+ hours per week. You have family responsibilities. You have very little free time. Advice. Embrace microlearning. Use integration moments throughout your day. Your commute becomes listening time. Your lunch break becomes practice time. Your evening routine includes review. 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, adds up. Quality matters more than quantity. Situation 2. The advanced learner stuck at high intermediate. You're at B2 level, but can't seem to reach C1. You understand most everyday English, but struggle with nuance, humor, and specialized content. Advice. Specialize. Choose a field or topic you're passionate about. Dive deep. Listen to advanced content in that area. Learn the specialized vocabulary. The depth in one area will improve your overall skills. Situation 3. The learner in a non-English speaking country. You don't have daily exposure to English. You have to create your own English environment. Advice. Curate your digital environment. Make your phone, computer, and social media English dominant. Listen to English radio online. Watch English TV. Join online English communities. Create an English bubble around yourself. Situation 4. The anxious learner. You understand more than you think, but anxiety prevents you from processing effectively. You freeze when you need to understand. Advice. Practice in low-pressure environments first. Listen to content when you're relaxed. Use breathing techniques before challenging listening. Build confidence with comfort materials. Gradually increase challenge. Situation 5. The older learner. You're learning English later in life. You worry that your brain isn't as flexible. Advice. Use your life experience to your advantage. Connect English to what you already know. Use storytelling and narrative. Focus on meaningful communication rather than perfection. Remember that older brains can learn languages. They just do it differently. No matter your situation, the principles remain the same. Adapt the strategies to your life. Engage consistently. Connect English to what matters to you. Now, let's talk about the ultimate goal. Beyond listening. Listening is not an isolated skill. It's connected to everything else in language learning. As your listening improves, other skills improve too. Let me explain these connections. Listening and speaking. There's a direct connection between what you can understand and what you can produce. Your listening vocabulary becomes your speaking vocabulary. The patterns you hear become the patterns you use. Improve your listening, and you'll naturally improve your speaking, especially pronunciation, rhythm, and natural phrasing. Listening and reading. Listening and reading are both comprehension skills. They use overlapping brain networks. Improving your listening comprehension will improve your reading comprehension, and vice versa. Listening and writing. When you listen extensively, you absorb grammatical patterns, vocabulary, and organizational structures. This knowledge transfers to your writing. You'll write more naturally, with better flow, and more appropriate language. Listening and cultural understanding. Language is culture. When you listen to English content, you're not just learning language, you're learning about English-speaking cultures. You're understanding humor, values, references, and ways of thinking. This cultural understanding makes you a better communicator. It helps you understand not just what people say, but what they mean. So as you work on your listening, remember that you're not just improving one skill, you're improving your entire English ability. You're becoming a better communicator overall. Now, before we finish, I want to give you one final powerful technique. Of all the techniques I've shared today, this is the most powerful. It's called deep processing. It's based on a fundamental principle of memory. The deeper you process information, the better you remember it. Shallow processing is memorizing. Deep processing is understanding. Shallow processing is isolated. Deep processing is connected. Here's how to apply deep processing to English listening. Step 1. Before listening, predict what you'll hear. Activate related knowledge. Set specific listening goals. Step 2. While listening, create mental images. Make personal connections. Ask questions. Notice patterns. Step 3. After listening, summarize in your own words. Explain it to someone else, real or imaginary. Connect it to other knowledge. Plan how you'll use what you learned. Deep processing takes more effort than passive listening, but it leads to much better learning. Information processed deeply stays with you. It becomes part of you. Let me give you an example. You listen to a podcast about climate change. Shallow processing. You listen. You understand some. You forget most. Deep processing. Before. You think about what you already know about climate change. You predict what the podcast might say. During. You create mental images of what's described. You connect statistics to things you know. You notice how the host structures the argument. After. You summarize the main points. You explain why this matters to you. You connect it to a documentary you watched. You decide to use 3 phrases from the podcast in conversations this week. See the difference? Deep processing turns listening into true learning. Now, we've covered a lot of ground. Let's bring it all together. We started today by talking about why you're still struggling. We talked about the myths that hold you back. We explored how your brain learns. We discussed the 3 core principles: adapt, engage, connect. We built a daily system with 4 components. We learned how to choose the right materials using the listening triangle. We mastered the recycling method. We solved common listening problems. We learned how to measure progress. We developed a 90-day transformation plan. We addressed special situations. We explored connections to other skills. And we learned about deep processing. That's a complete system for English listening mastery. But information alone isn't enough. You need to take action. So here's what I want you to do right now. Step 1. Commit. Decide that you will improve your English listening. Make it a priority. Not someday. Now. Step 2. Choose one thing. Don't try to implement everything at once. Choose one thing from today's episode. Maybe it's starting a daily warm-up. Maybe it's trying the recycling method. Maybe it's tracking your comprehension percentage. Choose one thing and start today. Step 3. Create your environment. Set up your physical and digital environment for success. Download the apps you need. Bookmark the websites. Create playlists. Remove distractions. Step 4. Schedule your practice. Put it in your calendar. Treat it like an important appointment. Protect that time. Step 5. Begin. Start small. Start today. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. I know you can do this. I've seen thousands of learners transform their English listening. I've seen the frustration turn to confidence. I've seen the struggle turn to success. Your journey won't be perfect. You'll have good days and bad days. You'll have breakthroughs and plateaus. That's normal. That's learning. What matters is that you keep going, that you trust the process, that you believe in your ability to improve. Before we end, I want to thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your commitment to learning English. Thank you for being part of this community. Learning a language is a courageous act. It's an act of connection. It's an act of growth. I honor that. I respect that. Remember, you're not just learning English, you're expanding your world. You're opening new doors. You're becoming who you're meant to be. This is Sarah from Best English Podcast. I believe in you. I'm cheering for you. Now go listen. Go learn. Go grow. I'll see you in the next episode.